Let me ask you all a question. Have you ever been talking to someone who's completely fluent in English and find yourself speaking to them in an accent completely different to your own? Because I have. And I'm willing to bet that this happens to most of you as well. I don't do this on purpose, but it's a natural change based on the context in which I find myself. And the reason that we as humans do this is because we try and conform to the cultural norms of our surroundings. Hello, my name is Hriday, Jhaveri, and I, like a lot of people in our world, have been affected by something called a colonial mentality. A colonial mentality is a form of self-hate or self-stigma that many people from colonized countries face. As colonizers imposed culture, language, and norms onto countries, the thought that colonized culture was inferior to colonizers' culture was spread. As a result, many people adapted the colonizers' language and norms and tried to fit in. Nowadays, generally, a colonial mentality is developed when a younger child is bullied for the culture that they are, or when younger children live in a foreign nation where they can't express the culture. For example, when I was younger, as an Indian child in Japan, I'd always feel extremely embarrassed to perform the Diwali dance in front of my schoolmates, as I believed it to be uncool or cringe and assumed that they would make fun of me for it. As I've grown older and become more connected to my roots, I've stopped worrying about others' perspectives on my culture. Yet, this isn't the case for thousands of children around the world. Now you may be wondering, is having a colonial mentality even a problem? Having a colonial mentality can be a problem because it perpetuates the power imbalance between people. Or in simpler terms, it reinforces the idea that one culture is better than another. This can lead to feelings of shame, self-hatred, and low self-esteem. And as comedian Hassan Minhas said, I was constantly made fun of for my accent, the way I spoke. It made me feel ashamed of my heritage. This shame and heritage causes for people to try and hide their roots, leading to loss of cultural identity, as well as have long-term consequences on mental health and social well-being. For example, my name is Hriday, spelled Hriday with a silent H. And to 90% of international teachers, the silent H makes no sense to at first. And so, every time I have a new teacher, I have to go through the same process of them saying everyone's names properly, and then pausing and mumbling when they reach mine. I would always think, why couldn't I just get a simpler name instead? I was always ashamed of my name and my culture, and so I tried hiding my roots. As a result, I was always less confident and indecisive. Instead, as I started to accept myself for who I was, my entire personality changed. I was always happier and generally much more confident as a person. So how do you start to remove the colonial mentality from your lives? Firstly, and most importantly, you need to recognize its negative impact on you. And rather than feel ashamed of your cultural heritage, including language, music, food, and traditions, embrace them as an integral part of your identity. You can also learn about your culture's history and how colonization had an impact on your culture. By doing this, you can reclaim your cultural heritage and identity and create a sense of pride in yourself. Finally, you can also actively resist the pressure to accept and follow the norms and values of the dominant culture by celebrating your cultural differences and promoting diversity. Schools and parents can play an important role in this by exposing children to different cultures and histories, encouraging cultural pride, and fostering an environment of acceptance and respect for cultural diversity. For example, in my previous schools, parents would come and talk about different cultures, for example, Diwali or Hinam City, and students like myself would come and perform some activities to celebrate the occasion. This really helped me to start feeling more comfortable with expressing my cultural identity, and was a way I could share the joy and happiness of my culture with my friends as well. Now, imagine with me for a moment a community where every single person is proud of their culture, without any sense of shame or inferiority. A community where diversity is celebrated and differences are respected. In this community, we would be empowered to embrace our own unique identity and would, as some people say, love ourselves. We would be able to express ourselves freely, and our cultural heritage would be a source of strength and pride rather than something to be ashamed of. It is important that we, as a global community, work together towards shaping a brighter future, one with a society rid of a colonial mentality. Thank you.